Director of the National Economic Council, Brian Deese, touted the administration's efforts to fight inflation. He also spoke about the new partnership with a South Korean company to build more manufacturing in the U.S. He also discussed the administration's efforts to bring down gas prices.
Deese addressed inflation by saying we are moving out of a recovery. He said that we are not moving into a recession, but his comments come as the Fed is poised to raise interest rates tomorrow. He also says that he does not believe that we're headed into a recession, pushed back very firmly against that by talking about the definition, not just the 2 quarters of down GDP. So joining us now is Lori Bettinger. She is the president of BancAlliance. She also served as the former director of the Troubled Asset Relief Program under the Obama administration. Lori, thanks for joining us. So we heard Brian Deese say that consumer spending is strong, but a new report shows that consumer confidence fell for a third consecutive month in July. Which indicator is more important when you're looking at this?
A great question. And like so many things recently, we're just seeing conflicting information everywhere. So as you mentioned, and as we just heard, there are signs everywhere of really strong consumer health. A bunch of large banks have big credit card businesses just announced earnings, and we heard a lot of the CEOs talk about, the strength of the American consumer with credit card balances falling. I saw some reports on that yesterday. And then today we see that for the third month in a row, consumer confidence has fallen. I think we're at sort of levels immediately at the beginning of the COVID pandemic onset. And so it's sort of like, how do you reconcile these things? And if you dig a little bit into the survey, I think you can start to see that, people might feel okay about their present situation, maybe not as positive as they did a few months ago, but it's really hard not to worry about the future when everything you see and hear expresses concerns. What's the world going to look like? Are businesses slowing down? Will job growth slow? And so you just sort of have this mix map of all these sort of what's going on today and what are our future expectations. And we're seeing that, I think, in every part of the economy right now.
And Lori, the Federal Reserve is expected to raise interest rates by 75 basis points tomorrow. Explain to viewers, if you will, what this means exactly and what impact it could have on the U.S. economy.
Right. So the Fed, has, as you said, has said that they'll most likely raise interest rates tomorrow. And they're really hoping to sort of slow down the economy. And by that, slow down inflation. We keep hearing so much about inflation, and particularly in food and energy prices, how much of an impact that's having on all of us, on all of, American households. And so when you raise the cost of borrowing, of the cost of carrying debt, the idea is that it makes you slow down your purchase. Maybe you would need to, borrow money to buy a car, and now the cost of borrowing money is higher, so you don't buy that car. Same in housing, same for large ticket purchases. So with interest rates, they're trying to cool the economy, not cause a recession, but just slow it down enough to slow down purchasing so that hopefully these price increases we keep seeing month after month will start to slow, or even better, stop.
Well, some traders believe that the Fed's aggressive policy tightening could lead to a recession. Of course, we're talking about what we expect they're going to say. That was based really off of what happened in their last meeting. I'm wondering what your take is on all of this, if you think it matters if we're in a technical recession as Deese defined it, or how others have defined it in the past. And how likely do you think it is that that the Fed will be aggressive again in raising interest rates?
It's a great question. I think the Fed is going to be aggressive. They've said as much. They've tried to make sure that their actions are matching, what they're saying they're going to do, because no matter where you look, inflation is a huge problem. And the best tool they have to fight inflation and rising prices for all of us and all these different aspects of our life is to raise interest rates. And so, it's going to be maybe an unusual situation, right, where tomorrow we might hear about the Fed raising interest rates. And on Wednesday, we might hear that, GDP growth, the growth of our economy continues to slow. And usually you don't think about those two things as going together. But, and I think we heard a question, there are these technical definitions of a recession in true Washington fashion. You have an agency with an acronym responsible for looking at it in a historical context. But I don't know how much it matters today, because think about it. The more you hear about uncertainty, the more it makes you question some of your own financial decisions. Maybe you think to yourself, hey, I want to take a vacation, but maybe I shouldn't go as long. Maybe I shouldn't take as expensive a one. Maybe I'm going to have to put some of this on my credit card, and I'm going to be paying more for my credit card balances. So I think the more we talk about it, the more likely it becomes that we see consumers pull back, whether we have a technical recession or not. I mean, so
Right.
much of this can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it's whether it's a recession in your mind or an actual recession, sometimes has the
it
same
drives
result.
consumer confidence,
That's right.
and it has
It
effects on
absolutely
companies,
does.
et
That's
cetera.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, Lori Bettinger, thank you so much for breaking it down for us. We really appreciate your financial insight.
Thanks for having me.